Thanks for listening to the ArtTactic Podcast. I'm your host, Adam Green. A valuable and often overlooked aspect of the art market and art world are Catalogue Raisonnés. I imagine most of you are familiar with the term, but it seems like a rare occurrence for someone to spend time browsing through one of them on a regular basis. I mean, where do you even find one, for starters? And it's interesting because we're actually beginning to see some innovation here when it comes to these old big books. So in this week's episode of the podcast, we chat with Pierre Valentin, partner at Constantine Cannon, and he's also founder and chair of International Catalogue Raisonnés Association. Pierre joins us to update us on what's going on in the world of Catalogue Raisonnés, and he even offers some tips for living artists on what they can do now to ensure a complete Catalogue Raisonné when they're in the late stages of their career. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. Thanks so much for downloading and listening. Pierre, thanks so much for joining us.
Nice to be here, Adam. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, we're excited to dig into the world that is Catalogue Raisonnés with you. It's an area we haven't addressed too much on the podcast, but it is important for the art market. And I think most in the arts are familiar with them, but to be honest, if you're a contemporary art collector, especially focused on emerging artists, you may not even be aware of Catalogue Raisonnés or their purpose, or have even come across them. So to begin, can you just tell us what exactly is a Catalogue Raisonné?
Okay, well, the concept is simple. A Catalogue Raisonné is a comprehensive, annotated record of all the known works of an artist, either in a particular medium or media. Now, typically, Catalogue Raisonnés are compiled after the artist's death, because only then can you create a comprehensive record of his or her work, and the word comprehensive here is important. Some living artists have their own Catalogue Raisonnés. Typically, they continue to create, so it can't be a comprehensive record, but you can create a comprehensive record, for example, over a specific period of time of the artist's, lifetime. So works from 1980 to 2020, for example.
And what would you say are some of the most common ways that Catalogue Raisonnés are used by different market participants?
Okay, well, that's a good question. I mean, I would say that an essential tool for the market, the auction houses and the galleries. If you are presented a work and you discover that it's not in the Catalogue Raisonné, assuming there is a Catalogue Raisonné, then that's not a good sign. Now, the questions around Catalogue Raisonnés are, first, is the author of the Catalogue Raisonné authoritative? And there are some examples, I won't name any names, but there are some examples where the author of the Catalogue Raisonné is not considered an authority on the artist, and therefore, the Catalogue Raisonné tends to be ignored. Another issue is if the work is in the Catalogue Raisonné, of course, that is very encouraging. However, there have been examples of people forging works in the Catalogue Raisonné. So the work that's presented to you looks like the work that's illustrated in the Catalogue Raisonné, but nonetheless, it's a forgery. So what I would say is, in terms of the market, it's a very useful tool, but there are some caveats. Now, turning to museums, I would say they are also very useful for museums when they consider acquisitions, they consider whether to accept artworks as a gift, and also when they look at borrowing art, for example, to put a temporary exhibition together. If the artist, let's say it's a temporary exhibition on a given artist, and there is a Catalogue Raisonné, the first thing the museum curator is likely to do is to check that works that they would like to include or they would like to borrow from foreign institutions are in the Catalogue Raisonnés. That's not enough. They will do further research, but that's a very useful starting point. I would say that the Catalogue Raisonnés is an essential tool for academics in order for them to study the work of the artist, to compare the artist with other artists, and to further the research that's being done to date. I said earlier that the comprehensiveness of a Catalogue Raisonné is essential, but it's not unusual for works to sort of appear, if you like, after the Catalogue Raisonné was written, and quite often there are addendums to Catalogue Raisonnés that are published over the years to add to the body of work that's in the original Catalogue Raisonné. And scholars have a role to play in that. And then finally, I would say it's an essential tool for the artist's estate. It creates order and certainty in the marketplace. It facilitates research. It encourages scholarship, and it reduces the risk of forgeries circulating in the market.
And so you founded and chair the International Catalogue Raisonné Association. Tell us a little bit more about what exactly that association is. What is it that you do? What's the purpose of it? And what are some of the projects that you've worked on?
So ICRA, which stands for International Catalogue Raisonné Association, is a forum for scholars and professionals engaged in the production of catalogue raisonnés. The association's aims at facilitating collaboration between projects and the exchange of information about technical and practical aspects of catalogue raisonnés. The idea of ICRA came up because we know that it can take years of someone's life to put together a catalogue raisonné, and it can be a fairly lonely undertaking. And we obviously, we know that there is a platform in the US called Catalogue Raisonnés Scholars Association. It's been running for quite a few years now. It's very US centric, and we thought that we might that there was a need for a similar platform in Europe and rest of the world. So that was the sort of motivation, if you like, behind the association. We think we want to encourage the production of catalogue raisonnés. We think that there are issues out there to be discussed. And perhaps we'll come to that, but what is best to have? Is it to have a catalogue raisonné on paper, as has been the case traditionally? Are we moving on to online catalogue raisonnés, and what are the pros and cons? These are some of the issues that we think warrant discussion. We promote best practice through seminars and our annual conference. I could talk a bit more about that later on. And we just want to offer anyone engaged in catalogue raisonné projects the opportunity to discuss, debate, ask questions, and learn.
So I may possess an outdated perspective on catalogue raisonnés, but when I envision them, I think about big, dusty, heavy books you have to get from the library stacks if you want to review them, books that aren't really affordable or even practical for an individual to own. Is that the case today, or have catalogue raisonnés innovated and evolved in recent years?
Absolutely. I mean, there's definitely a trend towards online catalogue raisonnés. We could spend the afternoon talking about the pros and cons. I'd say there's still a market out there for books. And indeed, if you look around, you will see that printed catalogue raisonnés continue to be published on a regular basis, and some are really truly excellent. On the other hand, online Catalogue Raisonnés offer, significant advantages, low costs or no costs. Some Catalogue Raisonnés are available online without you having to pay any fee. The research potential is huge. With a printed Catalogue Raisonné, you look at the table of content and you navigate the catalogue as you would navigate a book. Whereas online, there are tons of search functionalities that can make the research a lot more detailed and interesting. You can organize works in certain ways. I mean, it's a completely new world. Updating the Catalogue Raisonné can be a lot more straightforward. Of course, it means that instead of if you're the author of a paper Catalogue Raisonné, you might update the Catalogue Raisonné, say, after 10 years or 15 years, whereas if it's online, you generally find that there is pressure to update it on a much more regular basis, which is can be a lot of work. But the advantage for the reader is that if indeed the Catalogue Raisonné, the online Catalogue Raisonné is updated regularly, then when you research the catalogue that it is up to date. And a very important part, I think, of a point is that an online Catalogue Raisonné is available anywhere 24/7 on a phone, on a tablet. You don't have to be at your desk to consult it. There's a sort of hybrid catalogue which the Wildenstein Plattner Institute in New York have pioneered, I think I'm right in saying, which I think they call it a legacy catalogue, which is effectively a paper catalogue that's been digitized. The Wildenstein Institute in Paris for many years was at the front of, they were a pioneer in producing Catalogue Raisonnés. At the time, these Catalogue Raisonnés were on paper, and what the Wildenstein Plattner Institute has done is to digitize them. So it's a hybrid because you can't search it as you would an online Catalogue Raisonné, but it is accessible 24/7 wherever you are, and it's another way to consult a paper catalogue.
And do you have a sense of how many Catalogue Raisonnés are actually created each year? There are just so many artists and artist estates. How many of them end up having a Catalogue Raisonné? And when is it usually considered to be justified to go through the effort and finances to compile one, either by the estate or by the market?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I don't have statistics, but I think what I would say is it's certainly a small minority of artists who have a Catalogue Raisonné. It's typically, I don't like that phrase, but what the market calls blue chip artists. Artists with a name. In terms of yearly patients, I don't know. I think a good place to start is the Catalogue Raisonné database of the International Foundation for Art Research. They publish a list of Catalogue Raisonnés, but also Catalogue Raisonnés in preparation, and these are very useful lists. And if you're interested, that's a good place to go to.
So we do have a lot of artists that listen to the podcast. What is some advice you could give young artists about what they should be doing as their career progresses to ensure that one day, towards the end of their career, they'll be able to more easily create a Catalogue Raisonné of their work that's full and isn't missing information and can be thoroughly used by researchers and all market participants?
The first point, it's probably an obvious point, is to keep an inventory of your work, ideally a digital inventory, as comprehensive as possible. Now, that requires discipline that artists sometimes don't have. if as an artist you don't have the time, the patience, or the inclinations to keep an inventory of your work, then there are people out there who can do this for you. It's easier than it used to be because there are now some pretty good software out there that can be used for that. I'll mention 3 names: ArtLogic, ArtCloud, and Outlook. They have, their pros and cons, and if you go online, you can read about the pros and cons of each software, but they're pretty user friendly, and it's easier to maintain an up-to-date inventory these days than it was maybe 20 years ago, where everything was on paper. And the second point perhaps is keep records. Keep records of everything you do. Don't throw things away. Letters, emails, publications, even the type of paints you use, because at the end, your archive as an artist will be a fundamental tool for anyone looking to write a catalogue raisonné of your work.
Pierre, thanks so much again for coming on the podcast and chatting with us about so many different aspects of Catalogue Raisonnés. If our listeners want to learn more about the International Catalogue Raisonné Association, what's the best place for them to visit?
So the website is icra.art, so ICRA.art. It's a membership association. We have over 150 members now, all over the world, literally. And what we offer our members are an online platform where they can exchange ideas, ask questions, learn. That is a platform exclusively reserved for members. Members have access to what we call the legal panel. In 7 countries, there is a lawyer they can go to if they need legal advice. The first hour is free of charge, and then discounts are available. We offer free networking events throughout the year. Of course, during the pandemic, that wasn't possible, but we are resuming our physical networking events. And then we offer discounts to our annual conference. This year's conference will be on the 1st of December. It will be, the topic is legacy. We're putting it together as we speak. And it's going to be a hybrid conference. So for those who can be in London, they can attend in person. But if you can't attend in person, it will be live streamed, and it is possible to attend it from the comfort of your own home.
Perfect. We'll make sure not to miss it. Pierre, thanks so much again.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you for having me.